first off, I want to apologize that we've been offline here for a little while. I know we haven't posted one of these an episode in about a month, so it's gotten away from us a little bit. But we started the off season here at Akron, and I'm sure you guys know how that is. So we're just getting out of phase one. We'll be shifting into a little more laid back phase as far as how many groups we have. We start mat drills, so we'll have a little more time in the afternoons. We'll start getting more of these out, but very excited about today's episode. I definitely recommend that you tag along with it. It's kind of an active curriculum episode. It's all about programming. I kind of my staff get up there and step by step do some programming, and it's just an activity to help you really realize what you all got in your brain. And I definitely recommend just staying along with the episode. Get a piece of paper out, get a pen out, and stay within the steps. And I think you really get something out of it. I know when I do these things, even with myself, when we're programming, it's a huge help. So enjoy the episode. It got cut out in the middle. There's about a 20-minute segment in the middle of it that got cut out, but it's still an hour and 20 minutes that you should be able to more than enjoy and get a lot out of. And hopefully, I don't know that it'll teach you a ton about programming today. You'll definitely take some things away, but it'll teach you a lot about yourself and about what you know, and hopefully what you don't know, what you need to go out and study. So last thing I want to leave you with before I get you guys out to the episode, our second annual Strength and Conditioning Clinic, okay? This is on all my social media websites, all right? I couldn't be more excited about our speaker lineup and who we have coming. So it's March 10th at 8 a.m. It's a Saturday morning here at the university. I got Cam Joss from DeFranco's Gym stopping in. He'll be a presenter. He'll be a guest. Fred Hale, who's a director at Eastern Michigan with their football program. Todd Hammer, who's spoken all over the place at clinics and has been in this thing for a long time, has a ton of insight. He's a director at Robert Morris. I'll be speaking as well. And then we'll have a round table at the end. So, man, it's super exciting. And I know there's a lot of other clinics there. And we try to keep it reasonable. We have a staff discounted price of $200. You can bring up to 8 people. And then our at-the-door price is $85, $75 if you pre-register. Like I said, that link is on my social media accounts, on my Instagram. I believe it's on my Twitter. I've posted it on my Facebook. So you should be able to find the flyer. If you guys have any questions or any issues or anything at all setting up or signing up, give me a call. So enjoy the episode today, guys. I'm very excited about them running. We're going to get this thing rolling again, and my goal is to get at least one up every 2 weeks so you guys can continue to follow along, and hopefully you had a chance to kind of look back at some other episodes where we've been offline here for the last couple of weeks. So enjoy today. Like I said, get a pen out, get a piece of paper, follow along with the episode, follow along with the steps that we go through with figuring out what you program and what you put here and what you might be missing. And like I said, if you have any issues or any questions, as always, reach out to me. I'm more than happy to help. Go Zips. So for our staff Devo today, I'm super excited about this. I'm going to put the markers down, and I'm going to ask the questions, and you guys are going to run this, okay? So I guess for me, when I think about programming, the best way to learn programming is like writing a book, right? The best advice I've gotten from people that write books is they say you better just start writing at some point in time, okay? So the best way to learn programming is to kind of fail on your feet or to fail with a marker in your hand or whatever. So when I program, where do I like to program, guys? On a whiteboard, okay? So today what I'm going to do is I'm going to write a scenario, not write one, but I'll tell you a scenario. You guys are going to get on the whiteboard, okay? And we're going to take it step by step, and I'm not going to critique you. I'm just going to ask you, Coach Owens, why did you pick that movement? Vice, why did you do that? And I just want to know, because I think a lot of times, even when I look through my old programs, is what is my why? You look at something that you see on Instagram that's really cool that another program's doing. My first question is what? Why do you guys do it? Okay, so my first question is, as you guys start to develop your programs, and I understand that some of this, probably a majority of this will be what we do here, because I like to think that we all believe in what we do here. But I would assume that you guys have your own philosophies and ideas too, and that's great. I want to learn them. I want to get an idea to know exactly why or what you guys are doing. So I don't expect this to be perfect. I want you guys to get a little uncomfortable today, but I want to see how we're doing. So there's your marker. 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 All right. Just get a little section here on the whiteboard, and I'm gonna start asking. Go ahead. We're all gonna go up there. All right, so to kind of give you some parameters, and obviously you're going to have some questions. So if you have questions, just asking if you guys need more details on something, but I want to keep this relatively general, okay? So what we're gonna do is, I want to see a total body workout first, okay? So we're specifically just talking weight room right now. We're talking total body, okay? So if you want to go for it, whatever you would do, I don't know exactly what it is, but your parameters is, it's a total body workout for an off-season football program, okay? This is day one, however many days you think it should be. This is day one of your total body exercise, okay? Now, if this is something we're gonna use Akron as our facility. So there's your parameters there. Whatever you got at Akron, the field, the sleds, the prowlers, the med balls, the stuff that we have here at Akron, that's your guys' tools. That's your inventory right now you guys have, okay? So this is your day one. All I wanna know is, what is your first movement? What's the first thing we're doing on day one? However you wanna write this and organize it, just give me one movement. That's all I want up there right now.
One movement?
One movement, your first movement. Guys come in the weight room, you've already warmed them up. What's the first movement they're doing?
On a Monday.
Monday, day one, total body. Give yourself some room. Right up top if you can, because you're gonna be going all the way down here.
Promise I didn't look over.
Fuck, I like your that's a lot better.
And like I said, just follow your gut, follow your instinct. It doesn't have to be correct. Okay. All right, so let's just start Harris with you. All right, so just kind of explain me so far. What do you got? Why? So this is day one, total body. You're going trap bar deadlift.
Yep.
Why?
I like the trap bar because I think it's way easier to teach. Big fan of deadlift. I just think putting force in the ground, having to stand up with something. With this thought in mind, I'm gonna just kind of stay away from the Olympic lifts. If I was going to Olympic lift, it would be a hang clean or power clean. Just going off personal. So the trap bar, everything sits at your side. You don't have to really teach much technique, as we found out with our combine guys. We took the barbell out from in front of them, put the trap bar in. Numbers were better, technique was better. I really like that movement, my experience with it.
So what is your purpose? What is the purpose of doing a trap bar deadlift? What effect are you trying to cause?
It's our max effort pull from the floor, and just moving vertically and being able to produce force through the ground and standing up.
All right, so let's put a little parenthesis on that with your definition of why you're doing it. So just write your purpose there. I want to know that. So it's a max effort, so you can put ME vertical. So it's your ME vertical movement. All right, Green, why deadlift?
He did a great job of explaining it. Really the same exact reason, but instead of the trap bar variation of it, go straight bar, just for the simple fact that I'm pretty sure you're gonna ask us to put a second movement up there. It's gonna kind of correlate with my second movement, and it's also gonna help, just like he said, wanna go kind of stray away a little bit from Olympic lifting. But if I do have a football coach who wants Olympic lifting in their program, this is a great tool to start with, teaching the guys how to pick the bar up off the ground. Just like he said, it's a max effort movement. It teaches putting force in the ground, and I also think it's one of the movements that you do that kind of correlates onto the field with force production and speed as well.
Yeah. Now, just remember, the thing that I would be careful with is, just so we understand this and everybody understands this, no movement is max effort. No movement is power output. No movement is it's what you decide it's gonna be. A back squat can be max effort, a back squat can be power output, a back squat can be mobility, right? So when I'm asking you as your purpose, you're using it as a max effort, but don't ever think and lock yourself into a box of this movement is max effort. That's a max effort movement. The movement, and it's partially why I'm asking what your purpose is. I want to know what your purpose for that movement is. So you guys see, obviously, our variations of our movements are different, and it's always what is the intent? What are we trying to get out of this? Is this an absolute strength? max effort movement? Is this a power output? Is this an accelerative strength movement? Where on the force velocity curve are we trying to work? We have to think about those things while we're programming, and we're thinking about what we're doing. What is a purpose? So just same thing, write your purpose in there, coach. You said you want max effort. That's a max effort deadlift, day one.
When we say max effort, that's like our
That's
Absolute
3x5, like our progression.
It's your
that's
absolute
my,
strength.
my priority lift for that day.
It's your absolute strength. If you're telling, that's what I'm saying with max effort. That's your absolute strength movement, okay? All right, okay, so you got med ball keg toss. Why?
Well, I did have power clean up there. I gotta change it up a little bit. Med ball kick toss doesn't take too much technique. There's not a lot of weight, and what we're trying to do is be explosive. So lightweight, get the ball up faster. Don't have to worry about injury. Don't have to worry about really coaching too much. And also gives them a distance marker when they're throwing the ball.
Great, all really good reasons. What is your purpose of that movement?
Purpose would be power output.
Power output, okay, so now we're seeing some differentiation. All right, yeah, nailed it. So put your purpose up there. Power output. All right, good. Vice, so you have the bench. This is day one, total body. Why?
Total body, you said to start off, I would like to start off with bench because I believe, sometimes if we start off with other lifts, guys get fatigued a lot easier.
Yep.
I'm kind of myself, training myself.
Yeah.
And it might affect their bench press from doing power cleans and stuff before, to where they might not hit the numbers that they normally hit.
Yeah.
So that's pretty much my reason why.
I mean, it's tiering. It's that there's nothing wrong with that. If that's your reason why, you're saying, hey, we test the bench. We believe that especially up front, the bench is a huge movement, upper body strength. So we want to prioritize that. That's like the tier system, right? So bench is more important to me than cleans are. So we're gonna bench first. Now, somebody might tell you you're wrong, but if you have that why, you're not wrong. To you, that answer is correct. You're gonna bench press. Now, what is your purpose of that bench?
Purpose is, what would that be, like the,
What's your intent? You just told me why you put it there, but what is the actual intent of that bench in your program?
to get put up the most weight?
So that's max effort movement. So your intent would be, that would be a max effort press. So that you'll put ME press underneath that. That's your purpose of that movement. All right, Coach Owens.
Take the snatch, so it'll be velocity based. All I'm trying to do is prep the central nervous system.
Okay.
The reason why I didn't pick a hang clean, is dudes they can leave their hips behind. With the snatch, you really can't leave your hips behind or you're not gonna get the bar above your head. So I really wanted to emphasize getting that triple extension, bringing your hips, but also having a lot enough weight for your prodding your CNS for the day.
I definitely think that what I've known, over my career, snatching is 10 times easier to coach than cleans, which I don't think that when you're a young coach, nobody tells you that, or you don't think that. I know, when I was a young guy, people are like, well, shit, snatch, that's tough to teach, that's scary. Go downstairs and take a freshman and try to teach them to clean or try to teach them to snatch. 90% of the time, guys will pick up snatch like that because it is so natural. You better jump, you better get triple extension, and you better throw that bar vertical or else you ain't gonna catch it. So yeah, I don't disagree. So not your purpose, you said it's not power output. You're not looking for power output here. You're looking to prep the central nervous system. Okay, so Vice, he'd be almost going, and I'm assuming that's where you're going with it. He's more along the philosophy of what you're saying is he doesn't want to use a power output exercise there. He doesn't want to fatigue anybody. He just wants to prep the nervous system for what's about to come next. We'll find out here in a minute. So write your purpose underneath there. All right, Will.
Power clean, first thing, total body movement. I wanted to pull from the ground. Didn't really want to get them down on the bottom of the squat yet. I wanted to prep the nervous system as well to kind of piggyback off what TJ's saying. And again, it's going to be velocity based. first thing I want to do is not put them under a max effort load. Get them moving, and then continue to build upon that.
Good. So what would your purpose of that clean be?
Prep.
Okay, so your percentages are low. Low percentages. We're not trying to get power output movement out of that. We're trying to get max effort, or not max effort, but we're trying to prep the system for what's coming next.
What's coming
which is
next.
Probably okay. So make sure you write that up there.
Where would you cut off the percentage for, like, say that is your movement, say you're in a program like we are, like, where would you say, okay, this is more of a primer, or this is more of a power, like, what percentage would you cut
I
that
don't think you could set it at a percentage. It's so much individualized, and I would set it at a velocity. You know what I mean? Where I would keep the velocity high enough to where I know it's not going to be fatiguing. So to me, if we're moving the bar 225 on a peak, because I can move 264 at 2:0 at some point in time. So if you really want to just call it a primer, you need to be well above 2.0 meters per second. But it just is so different for so many different people. You know, there's a lot of this, the difference between CNS prep or post-activation potentiation and fatigue is a lot of it is just training economy. How much can you handle? So it's you got to be careful with it based off your team. You know what I'm saying? Well, what they can all handle. Like our warm up for our sprint day is a CNS primer, but for probably a high school athlete, what would that be? That warm up would be a freaking workout. Their CNS wouldn't be primed after. Their CNS would be fatigued after. So you have to look at your athletes and see what you have to make that call based off who you're training. So there's not, like I said, it's probably the same bullshit answer I always give you. There's not just white. It's not black and white. There's a lot of gray with that stuff. All right, so we're total body. This is your day one. What is your second movement?
What if we're doing like a super, like I wanted a super, my second movement with my
You
super
guys,
set.
you get to do whatever you want to do. It's your call. If you guys want to just write your purposes up there with it, that would be more than fine.
Wow, go figure.
All right, Will, we got back squat, front squat. Our purpose is hypertrophy. Tell me why.
So beginning of off season, I want to go right into hypertrophy, just kind of build back up. And I want to go something like 8-4 or like 6-3. Start out high, get the volume up there, and then kind of taper that off as we progress through the program.
So it's a hypertrophy, or you want a hypertrophic response to start your off season. Those movements would shift to what?
More of a max effort piece individually. We would take them, we'd split them up.
So why don't you put a little arrow there that says a little shift it to that. Now what about your power cleans? Are those gonna always be a CNS prep, or will those shift?
Those would shift as well.
Okay, to what?
More of a power output.
All right, so let's write that up there just so we can keep that in the back of our head. So put an arrow to PO and an arrow to ME. All right, Coach Owens, what do we got next?
So, part of my snatch superset would be a horizontal and ball throw,
Okay.
from the beginning. So that's just shooting your hips and hands, so it kind of goes hand in hand. But that is also to prep you for your bench, because that is a horizontal movement. So in my next main movement would be my bench press, but I would start off at the beginning of the program with hypertrophy. You need that size at the beginning to hold your strength. My Mondays, the main emphasis would be a strength phase.
So, okay, like it. Bison.
Yeah, probably velocity-based power clean, because I know I'm basing a lot of this off of the way my body feels. I like how cleans somehow get me ready to squat almost. So just the pull from the floor, the explosiveness, getting the body ready. Really, I mean, I think it really helps out to set things up the right way for squat.
So would that be more of a power output or more of a CNS priming type exercise? More or less, how high are we
I
going?
guess I wouldn't have it do heavyweight. I wouldn't have heavyweight kind of in the middle to start off with. Something that, they can't throw up there crazy, but, some makes them work.
So the biggest thing that you need to think about at this point is, and like you said, I would say that, if you're emphasizing bench, that's still your reason why. But the thing that you always have to think about is, because whenever you choose A, you're going to lose part of B. You choose C, you're going to lose part of A. And so, there's always a give and take with this stuff. Now, what you're possibly giving is if power clean is a power output movement for you, once your nervous system starts fatiguing, you're gonna start dropping off with how much synchronization and rate coding we can really fire on. So you just have to be, if you go off a heavy ass 5x5 bench, our CNS is going to start that fatigue accumulation. So you get the power clean, that's a power output movement. Now, if you have an elite athlete, you might not have to worry about it. But it's just something that you have to just make sure you're thinking about as you're continuing to develop this and write this in your head, and obviously on the whiteboard, is that every time we start working down this ladder here, fatigue is accumulating. So, like I said, you're saying right now that bench press is your most important movement, and if that's what you
Just
believe,
for the day one.
right? And so and that's
Like a
maybe
different day,
you
a
say
different
that my upper is my most important here, my lower is my most important here, and then my power output's my most important there. I wouldn't disagree with you. There's no way that I could tell you that that's wrong and I'm right. It's a different way of doing it, because you can sit there and say, well,
Based on
sleeve,
athletes as well.
yeah, well, sleeve, we're gonna do a max effort press first. That's gonna be our number one on Monday. On Wednesday, power output is the most essential. I wanna get it completely fresh. We're gonna start there. And then on Friday, it's gonna be a max effort squat. So I have something prioritized every single day that we test, that we emphasize, boom. You're not wrong at all. You know what I'm saying? I like it. So write your purpose up there. All right, Kish, what do you got?
I got squat, kind of going off what they said about have a hypertrophy response, build muscle fibers up to build strength later on. Pick squat for Monday.
Where are you going? Back squat, front squat?
Back squat.
Okay.
Just because of it always seems like your legs, like later in the week, your legs feel heavy more than your upper body does, so get that out of the way first. So they're perfect, a lot more work out of it, I should say.
Yeah, less accumulation in that particular piece, okay. And is this gonna always be hypertrophic throughout the whole system, or will this?
I would give it 2 weeks of hypertrophy, then
Okay.
go into a strength phase.
Okay, and that's fine. I ask, and I will, and Kish, I ask because you think about the conjugate method. What is it? They have a hypertrophic lower body every single week. They don't just do it the way that I do it for a couple weeks, and that's fine. We've done that before too, and it works. Now the way that I program is we're conjugated in a daily basis. So we're gonna have max effort, power output, and hypertrophy all in every day in some form or facet. So we work our hypertrophy right now at Akron. Where we work it? Our accessories, right? That's where we get our hypertrophic response. So I definitely believe in it. So it's I'm not trying to be a dick when I'm saying, would you keep that hypertrophy this whole time? Maybe you would. Maybe you'd keep that hypertrophy the entire time, and on Friday you'd want to do your max effort day, and that'd be a max effort trap bar deadlift. I don't know. I'm just so you're thinking about this. Just continue to spitball. All right, I like it. Green, front squat, sub max.
Yes, so should go back and say, like, with this being the beginning of the off season, everything is going to be on that's not necessarily hypertrophy, every movement, like how we do it, but it's going to be on the high rep scheme of everything. So secondary movement would be my sub-max movement. I picked the front squat just for going back to what I said about the deadlift. Kind of want to stay away from Olympic lifting, but if I do have a coach that wants Olympic lifting, I think front squat is one of the best movements to start the teaching progression of Olympic movement, whether it be the hang clean or the power clean, just really teaching that catch. Front squat also does a great job, especially with the taller guys, receivers, linemen when they have the mobility, and anybody else. It's very, very easy to teach them depth. So teaching depth, teaching the upright position, being able to put as much weight in that position on them as I can, keeping the repetitions high, still building up strength, and going from that second movement, that's going to parlay into when I go into my accessory stuff.
Okay. Harris?
Yeah, my lower body movements, front squat, Green looked at mine first.
Right.
This would be my rep effort here. So it's the same thing. And then I put teaching as well. I love the idea, the experience I've had, doing my own stuff with those high school kids, the biggest thing I found was that interior load and the chest position. And it's more, like you think of a squat, it's a little more natural of a movement, and it's I think it's easier to pick up, especially for, we get a lot of guys that are very untrained, and I think it's one of those movements that kind of goes along with my same reason for this was it's easier to teach. We're not gonna have to spend, a bunch of time, oh, hey, you might have to put the bar lower, you might have to put it higher. Let's just freaking put it in front of you and sit back and go to work.
Yeah.
So and this will always be more of a rep effort. Now, I guess this is my fault, but I bypassed my hypertrophy phase. I was thinking going right into my max effort, stuff like that. So this would be like 8s, 6s.
Now, the one thing I do want you to think about is, you talk about back squatting having its host of problems with where the bar goes. I don't see that minimized at all with front squatting. The big thing with front squatting you automatically go to is forearm length. If forearm length is if their forearms are too long, if they have long forearms, which who has long forearms in this world? What kind of player, what kind of athletes? Football players, basketball, they have long ass forearms. If you ever want to take a guy and you want to see why he can't front squat, measure his forearms and see how long they are. And that's usually going to be a huge indicator for why he can't get in that front rack position, because the ratio of his forearm to his humerus is all messed up. Okay, so the difference there is I guess when you think about front squat, I don't want you to think like, well, I eliminate that issue of being a high bar, low bar, whatever piece of that on their back. You're still going to run those up front. So do you cross them? Do you bring their elbows out wider? Do you bring them more narrow? But you're still going to have those same host of problems with the front squat. Can't you argue the front squat's better than the back squat? Yep, and people argue that all the time. Me personally, I'm not going to ever load up a front squat with guys. I just haven't seen it be successful. You have too many guys that to me, if true max effort is our goal of a certain movement, I'm not going to spend time. Or I guess I've never seen I've seen such a drop off with how much they can front squat versus back squat because of technique and because of those kind of issues, to where, that would be a movement that I would not be super comfortable max efforting. I would be more trap bar deadlift. I'd be more or back squat, box squat. Those would be where I would want to taper off into max effort movements, is what I'm just thinking out loud. All right, third movement, right up.
We're doing like supersets, we do supersets.
Yeah, absolutely. You pin it how you want it. Isn't it fun to think? You guys want to know how my brain works? It works like this every single day with every single thing that we do.
Sounds fun.
Harris, trust your gut. Let's go. All right, Harris.
So this is gonna be my vertical pull movement here on this day. I'm not gonna press this day, just thinking forward into our program. We probably pressed enough in the hypertrophy phase, so I'm just gonna go, I'm gonna get my vertical pull here, because I want this is gonna be one of our main focuses on upper body. We talk a lot about push-to-pull ratio, and not many guys have it. So this is you don't have to worry about it, you're not blown up from a bench before or anything like that. I want this to be my main emphasis for this day, because this is gonna be the only upper body movement we have on this day. So I'm gonna keep it right here, and that's gonna be where I'm gonna focus on my vertical pulls.
So your week, total body week, looks like how many days have you lifted? So you're gonna press how many days a week? So you're gonna press Wednesday, Friday? Green.
I like it. I like it a lot. My third movement will be a unilateral vertical or diagonal press. Third movement is I'm gonna keep the reps really high. This is one thing I was talking about, since it's not like I passed over hypertrophy. Like I said, this whole week, everything's gonna be on a higher rep range, but within my program, I wanna have something just like conjugate. I wanna have something that has a hypertrophic nature every day of the week. So this would be one of the movements that I would do with that. Vertical diagonal, just for the simple fact that I'll have a vertical press later on in the week. But then again, this movement, that third tier movement, just like how Harris has his, it would kind of rotate through vertical press, vertical pull, horizontal press, horizontal pull. Really doesn't matter what I want to put on that day. I just know whatever I do on that third movement, third tier, I kind of want it to be unilateral in nature, whether it be single arm, single leg, and high reps.
Very good. I like it. Kish.
Picked a dumbbell bench press. Still wasn't sure about if it was a submax or hypertrophy day, just because later in the week we'll do a hypertrophy of the bench press. The dumbbell, but the dumbbells, it gives you more of like a stability. You get to stabilize. It's not really focused on too much weight, and it preps you for like later on in the week. Gets the system ready.
So you're that's hypertrophic the whole 9 weeks, or?
No, it would just be for the first 2 weeks to be a hypertrophic lift. But I would be confused on if I should be still hypertrophy with the back squat being the main emphasis that day, or having it like lower reps, and going into hypertrophy phase or the hypertrophy with the bench press.
Right.
Later on.
Yeah, and I mean, it's obviously it's your decision to make, but I said you just have to understand the same kind of what I talked to Bice about, which is accumulation of fatigue. If you're trying to get a max effort bench after a max effort back squat, it's tough. It's not undoable. We've done it here before. We've gotten incredible results out of doing it. It's just a lot, so it's something that I would say if you're going to do that, you have to understand that they're going to feel that on Tuesday, probably going to feel that on Wednesday. So it's where me, like when I used to program in that nature, which we would do, we'd hit a power output clean, we'd hit a max effort squat and a max effort bench. That's why our Wednesdays were the way they were. They were unilateral. It was a deload. It was if I was writing my weeks, it was Monday was VH very heavy, Wednesday was LL very light, and Fridays was HL heavy light. So that's how we program. So there's nothing wrong with that. You could keep that hypertrophy, and then you could have a dynamic bench, and you could have a max effort bench, like conjugate in nature. So it just depends on what you want. I've seen them all work. Like you said, at the end of the day, it's what are you comfortable with? What are you, Bice talks about a lot. The same thing I do is what do I feel when I train that way? What have I liked in the past, you know? And if I'm being honest right now, what I've liked training myself personally the most is this current 4-day split we've done. And it's funny because I did a different 4-day split 5 years ago, or shit, 8 years ago, and I hated it. So it just kind of depends on it's how you organize it, it's how the guys respond to it, but, you know, we've gotten results out of doing it all 3 ways you're thinking about right now, you know? And you've done those before, you've done all those different variations here at Akron, so you've seen it. Vice?
I got a tricep with kind of a single leg movement, so either Bulgarian split squat, lunge, or step up. 'Cause
Okay.
I like how you said how the majority of our football game, majority of the game, you know, you're on 1 foot. So I like how you incorporate that. And then superset that with kind of like pull-ups or lat pull downs for the big guys. Because I know it's what we tell them to, like ISO holds, but you start with the ISO holds. But I mean, I still like that, going over the lat pull down machine, loading
Full
up the
range of
weight,
motion.
and getting that reps, and then try setting that with core.
Good. I like it. So that's gonna be your max effort, rep effort. What are you looking at out of that split squat? Are you trying to, what are you trying to body respond
This is
with?
the start. I would like, you know, to start off lighter, just to make sure the form's correct
Yeah.
and stuff. Obviously, everybody knows I do pull-ups and stuff, but just to you know, start like we do. We start without weight, and guys get built up, and then they get built up. Some of the lighter guys can put chains on, put the weights on, and kind of then we can lower the reps down once the weight gets up there. And I just noticed that when like we didn't have a core movement, I didn't have a core movement up there, so.
So you're gonna start hypertrophic with the
Yeah,
unilateral
start- yeah,
movement,
to
and you
start.
wanna work that to a max effort movement, or?
Yeah, because the reason why I say that is because I liked what we did the other day when we cut down the sets of the reps at 6
Yeah.
on the Bulgarian.
Top.
And
Yeah.
we put down the reps at 3. I like the guys because their form was good, but they were doing heavier weights. And asking them to do that for 5 or 6 reps is a little crazy. So if you say, you know, that 3 reps, the guys are going to want enough weight to, I think it's beneficial.
Yep. All right, Owens, what do you got?
So, I did trap bar deadlift, so that's gonna be my pull, but I'm also gonna focus a lot on the eccentric portion, so I kind of treat that like my hip hinge. And then superset that with our chin-ups, so that I have my posterior chain, and it's also a vertical pull.
Okay. So, like I said, so you're emphasizing bench over trap bar deadlift right now. To you on Monday, that bench is more important.
Yeah,
Good.
so my Mondays are my big strength days.
Okay.
So,
All right, Will?
Going with a Z press. So I've done a pull, I've done a squat, I wanted to press. I got a vertical press. I think it's good for the shoulder health and some core stability. As we've seen so far, when guys don't do anything for 4 weeks, we have really weak cores. So wanted something in a stationary position that they could really focus on that. I thought about supersetting it with a pull, or like a single arm overhead carry, but to avoid some burnout and accumulation there, just saving that.
Okay.
This would be sub-max weight.
Okay, so sub-max, you're looking for muscle endurance, you're looking for max
Posture,
strength?
fatigue, or posture, quality control, essentially.
All right, 4th movement. And let's actually do this, just finish the day. So you got, finish the day now so you can connect everything. Isn't it fun to think? And this is when you just, if you don't do this stuff right now, you have just 10 million things going through your head and you have no idea what to pick. And it's why it's so essentially important that you write programs often and decide all the shit you read and you hear me say. It's why it's so essential that you put it to paper, that you measure it out. It's why when you get a chance to train 2 high school kids, you take it because you test it and you see what you like, you see what works, you see what doesn't work, you see what sounded good in your head, but then when you wrote it down on a piece of paper, it looked bad and it didn't make any sense. You see what looked good on a piece of paper, but then when you took 2 high school kids through, you're like, wow, that makes no sense. Or man, they're tired as shit at this point in the program. That's why this stuff is so important. This is what we talk about. You know, it is the information age. You have access to anything you want, but can you apply that information? Which is what we're doing right now. Making ourselves aware. Do we know how to apply all the shit we know in our head? Right? All right, Harris, you ready?
Yep.
Talk to me.
All right, so this is my secondary total body movement, and then my lower body movement. So this total body movement here is our posterior chain. I went with a single leg manual reverse hyper. Now in Akron, we have 2 reverse hypers. You can pull up the pendulum. If you have 2 guys there, you can also line them up on the GHRs. So through personal experience and I really like this movement before progressing into the regular hyper, just because of the fact that you can load up a little bit on the concentric and you can force them to stay through the eccentric as well. So, and it's a single leg movement, so it's a unilateral movement. This is something I found that I really like, and it worked for me. This is going to be supersetted with a plank variation in our anti-rotation core. Then the lower body movement I have is a goblet reverse lunge. Once again, it's very simple. I like the reverse lunge for me personally. I know when I do forward lunges, it just blows up my knees. Little, 4 or 5 months with high school athletes using this movement, I liked it a lot, and they got really freaking strong doing it, and we progressed it. This will progress to like a deficit, increase the range of motion. So it's a unilateral and increased volume. And that upper movement and my lower body movement, this is going to be a superset here. So we'll go chin up, the goblet reverse lunge, little upper lower, it's a little taxing on the energy system, and then this will be like our last movement of the day. I don't like pairing a reverse lunge with a posterior chain.
All right. Very good. Green.
All right, so to finish off the rest of my day, going back to the first 3 movements, since we're finishing up the lifts, I'm always going to pair my first 3 because those are the primary things that I'll be working on that day. I'm always going to pair it up with some type of mobility. The first one will always be paired up with core because I think the core is what jump starts everything, gets everything started. So pairing up with core movement 1 and superset with mobility movement 2 will always be superset with mobility. Movement 3 superset with mobility. Going into the first tricep, just finishing off my secondary total body movement, leaning more towards posterior chain. So I'm going reverse hypers. Everything right here will be either higher in reps or a rep scheme that I feel comfortable in doing. So reverse hypers will be higher in reps. Split squats will be higher in reps, which will be my secondary leg movement to kind of with my squat. And then also I will superset that with a core movement as well. Then I'll be going into the next movements after that. Is everything that I feel just to start the week off that a football player needs.
Yep.
So you look at the injury rates for football. With us that we had this past year, we had a lot of shoulders. You get a lot of ankles and you get a lot of knees. So I think I'll take care of mostly a lot of knee stuff when it comes to my front squats and my reverse hypers, really building up that VMO and then strengthening up their hamstrings. And then I'm going to the shoulder. I always want to have about 2 shoulder movements. I think kids these days, because lack of play, they don't have very strong shoulders. So increasing the shoulder movements throughout the program, I think will be clutch. Glute activation. which can also play along in with the different type of core stuff that I'll be doing. But that's something that I think athletes need in general, not just football players. If I was training a female athlete, I may reverse these and go 2 additional glute exercises along with my posterior chain and take a shoulder movement away. And then, like I said, I love working core. I think you need to have a strong core. Not all about the flashy six-pack, but actually being able to hold the weight or being able to stabilize when you have something in your hand. And then you can't go away from training program center for awareness, head, neck, and trap development, which I would get trap in the shoulders, and then training neck with range of motion, rotation, and all that other stuff.
Perturbations?
I love perturbations.
Did we start perturbations next week?
Can't wait.
Excited. All right, I think it's very good. I like it. I like you have whys for everything. Go ahead.
Go back with the dumbbell bench press. I would try to set that with core and lat pull down, just because it's you got to push here, and then you have to pull here. Counter both of them. Then core, it's a superset through there, more stability. Like Green said, you have to make sure you maintain that weight. It's not about looking good. It's more if you can handle that workload, be able to take a hit and get back up. Then finish out the day with eccentric hamstring, posterior chain. Back squat, you're not really hitting too much of the hamstring. More a majority of a quad, or usually working the quads. Having the hamstring not too demanding, but it's all on their based on how they feel. If they can go all the way down for those 6 seconds, good. If they can only get out, hold it down for 4 seconds, that's all they can do. We can get more bands on them, help them out.
Very good. All right, Vice.
My next tricep will be double incline bench, superset with bent over rows and cuff. Kind of put cuff in there kind of as an active rest period, because you know we want to start off like doing lighter weight, more reps. You know, just kind of keep the same up there to make sure technique's good. I know we really emphasized that on bent over rows this year, keeping back flat, starting with an RDO and all that, but. Eventually like to get up and weight. And then the next tricep, double upright row, 1-1-2s. I know I kind of never liked these until when I did your program, and I really liked the way, it's really not only works the shoulder, but you get some trap in there and everything else, and I really think it's beneficial. Then supersetting that with reverse hypers, kind of just finishing out, the full body kind of effect, because, it kicks your ass once you start doing them, and especially if you've never done them before. And kind of the same thing with the ankle here, give guys some active rest, get stuff done while they catch their breath for the next sets, and then finish it out with an arm blow up, kind of the same format we fucking have here. Gotta love the arm blow up.
I mean, it has something to it, man. It has nothing really to do with lifting, but it's intimidation standpoint and confidence standpoint. I don't think you could argue against it. So you got reverse.
Like you said before, the guys love it.
Yeah, they do. So you got reverse hypers only for your posterior chain movement.
Yeah.
All right. All right, Coach Owens.
A lateral lunge, which is just working a different plane, and also a unilateral movement. That's also a hip hinge. RDL, pulled, still a posterior chain developer. And then a landmine press, took forever. Worked really well with these high school guys, and then also with having some of the injured guys. It takes a lot of pressure off the edge point, so it's good to see instead of a shoulder press. So the main emphasis is a lot with posterior chain and really focusing on that development through days.
My only thing with the landmine press is just, I mean, there's a way to do it here. It's tough, I've done them before. I just don't. I never loved the setup of it, of how we had to do it. Now we jigged it up there, so we got it. But I mean, that used to be in my program, and I specifically took it out just because of the functionality of it. Not that I don't like the movement, that I don't believe in it. It's that we have that one actual landmine here, and you can stick them in the corners of your racks and stuff. But even with that, just the way how tight our weight room is, it was just tough to do that. So I mean, if you did it in a tri-set, I think what you have up there, I mean, it would just be, you'd have to think about that with our weight room, how you'd actually get it in there. Which is why I just, we two years ago, we implemented the single arm overhead press to kind of mimic that, which it's, like I said, it's a different angle, it's a different, from a rotationary standpoint, from a tilt standpoint of the core, it's definitely different.
And there's a lot of progression that you can go
Correct.
through with kneelings, tall kneelings, and standing up.
How did you do the landmine too?
I stick the band pins up in the front, and I put a 45-pound plate, caught it, and then I put a towel in the hole, and then we'd stick the, it worked. I mean, it was, you had bars all over the freaking place, and it just was like,
I was curious, I didn't know if you went in the racks or how you did that.
well, the racks are so closed off from each other that it's a nightmare. So anyways, I just couldn't stand looking at it, and so I stopped doing them. All right, Will.
Wanted to keep Monday pretty simple. It's our first day back. So we're just gonna go to superset of Sorensen holds and single arm overhead carries. Keep the overhead carries light, just work on maintaining posture, see if they have any hip imbalances, see what their overhead mobility looks like.
What's a source and hold?
So you're on the glute hand developer and you're holding in a fully extended position. So
So posterior chain.
posterior chain activation, just
Okay.
squeezing and holding as long as you can. I really like
So it's a
and
muscle,
reverse
it's
hyper.
muscle endurance.
Correct.
Okay.
And I really like reverse hypers or hyper extensions, but I want to get them in a ISO position first before we move into more dynamic piece.
Okay. And I mean, obviously, progressions, regressions, I get all that. So, I mean, I understand that this is not day one or week 1 to week 9, I get that. Okay, so what I want to do next here is I want you guys to make a line underneath what you just wrote. And underneath that, I want you to look at your program and I want you to say, all right, what am I missing? What is not now? Yeah, I mean, I guess that's the easy way to do it. Write down what it doesn't have. Now, you still got 2 days to train, so this isn't necessarily a negative thing yet, but I want to see what you guys look at and say, okay, this is what I got to get accomplished the rest of the week that I have not got accomplished yet.
We're gonna do the next 2 days, right?
No.
So just kind of plan as if you were to go through the next 2 days.
I just want you to have a list of things up there that say, this is what my Monday's missing. No, yeah, this is what I mean, more or less the point of this is gonna be, this is what I need to get in somehow the rest of the week. Very general, we're gonna talk through it, so you're not gonna write the rest of your week up there, I just wanna see what you realize or don't realize you're not doing enough of, or maybe doing too much of, or whatever it may be.
Just stuff we wanted to try to get on Monday, on
This,
the first day.
this is stuff that you say, okay, this is what, I don't have this in my program, I need to get this in the rest of this week. All right, so you guys can kind of stop. This is just kind of the brutal point here. So, the first thing you guys got to think about is with a 3-day split versus a 4-day split is we have to get more stuff done each day, and we know that, right? So, I mean, the thing, I mean, in my opinion, in the 3-day split, I believe something needs to be hit every day of those whatever your core is of what you believe in, you only got 3 days to hit it, and you better hit some form of it every day, okay? So, you know, going through your program, Harris, what's the biggest thing you see that, man, I'm lacking right now, I need to get this in the rest of this week?
Definitely, I mean, I gotta press more throughout, obviously, and then, so that, I mean, if we're looking at our strength movements, definitely a press and something to build that bench. Especially with football, obviously, that's gonna be our big tester, for the guys upstairs. So, we gotta find a way. So now, thinking about that, I may go here, and I would maybe change that to some, maybe like a dumbbell press, or some sort of sub-maximal press, or even a freaking push-up variation. Here, I think I have, push-up variations. Obviously, I don't have neck on this day, which I should probably get in there. Prehab movement, I think it goes. And then looking forward to the rest of the week, this is kind of where I'd be.
Yeah, I mean, the thing that the thing about is you can live off of meat and potatoes without salt and pepper, but you can't live off of salt and pepper without meat and potatoes. So, you know, what you're thinking meat and potato.
I like that.
You're thinking about meat and potatoes right now, which I'm glad that's the first thing you think about. You know what I'm saying? You can't forget about the salt and pepper. You know, you gotta have your mobility, you gotta have your ankle, you gotta have your prehab stuff in there. The biggest thing, I mean, I see the biggest flaw I see is yeah, you gotta get some press variation in there. And mainly is the anterior upper body chain massively important in the game of football. I wouldn't prioritize it. I don't think that it's, I love that you have a posterior chain dominance in your program. I love that. I love it that that's where your mind goes. But we have to protect the shoulder girdle. You absolutely have to. And you got to press to do that. You know, you got to press on different planes, different angles. You got to take care of the shoulders. They're if you look across football right now, I mean, those and knees are your two just torrentially downpoured of injuries that you're getting. We've talked about this before. Something you still need to consider and think about is, I don't hate the trap bar deadlift max effort movement. You just have to understand is where is your power output coming? Like I said, this is something that you have to, and that's fine, but that's something that you have to think about. To me, I'm going to do some form of power output every day, just because of our sport. Now, if you're absolutely crushing it with your plyos or whatever it may be, that we don't have a full program up there. But I'm just saying, if I'm just looking at that Monday, my first question is where's the press, where's the power output? In a 3-day split, in a 4-day split, I'm more receiving of the idea of, okay, we have 4 days here, we can monitor this. But I mean, with the 3-day split, you just have to be careful and cognizant of that. I personally think 3-day splits are much harder to program than 4-day splits. I think you have a lot more room for error in a 4-day split. I think they're easier to organize because it's freaking Coach Bowden's old adage, any coach can go out there and put together a 3-hour practice. It takes an elite coach to go out there and get 90 minutes balls to the wall practice. Well, to me, that's kind of the same concept with a 3 and a 4-day split. When you have a 3-day split, you have to time every second and everything you program because you're only in the weight room 3 days. You have to make sure you find a way to emphasize a posterior chain, a way to emphasize a vertical hip hinge movement, a way to emphasize a press, and that's hard to do in 3 days. When you have 4 days, it's a little easier. It's a little easier to say, okay, this is our max effort unilateral movement. We have one of those. We have a max effort bilateral movement. So it's a little more difficult. You have to be more organized, I believe, in nature. But those are the main things I see there. Does that make sense? But like I said, I like where your head is with everything. What do you got? Let me see, Green. What you got? What we're missing the most of here? And I would say that the same thing. The biggest thing I look at when I see day one is I'm saying, okay, my first question is where's our power output? So how are you getting your power output in the rest of the week? What's your general plan?
General, general plan for the power output will mostly come on, like the last day, and then also on our Tuesday. Well, this will be a 3-day split, 3x5, so my 5 different movements I wanna work on, but my Tuesday, Thursday, I'll get the majority of the power output bang for my buck. So, the sprints, the tempos, the med balls, the prowler sleds, biomechanics, all that's gonna go on those Tuesday, Thursdays. But I think with this being the first day, I think I set myself up for, for success, knowing that if I needed to put in a power movement, an Olympic movement or something, I will have already started the progression of teaching it to implement it easier with the team.
Yeah.
To kind of take those out and then reestablish something else in those days.
And then my next question for both of you guys would be, and this is what we talk about when we banter back and forth about Olympic movements, is where's your force absorption coming in?
The jumps on those Tuesdays, Thursdays, when we get the jumps, can you get the same power output as if you do some type of plyometric movement? You get the same neurological response from a plyometric that you can get from an Olympic movement. So if I'm doing a genuine plyometric, where I'm doing my depth jumps, or I'm doing continuous bounds, my force absorption will be from those landings and those sticks, and that'll incorporate to the biomechanics and stuff as well.
I mean, I think what I've learned, and at least what I believe, is I don't think Olympic movements are the best power output movements by any stretch of the imagination. I think there are a lot of things you can do that are a lot more productive from a power output standpoint. I have not found an exercise I like more as far as having to absorb a force, as far as having 300 pounds come down on your shoulders, rib cage, core, hips, knees, ankles, and having to truly full body absorb that force. It's why, I mean, as of right now, would I, ideally, if I didn't have to test cleans, would I do them? Yes. Would I do them twice a week still? No. We do them once a week, but that to me, that force absorption, it's just the most authentic and Brendan Williams is one of my favorite examples of it. He can produce much more force than he can absorb, which is, part of it is just he's a genetic freak, but when you watch him clean, the bar is moving so fast, and there's so much inertial force coming down when that bar starts going this way, he can't catch it. Like, if you watch it, I had Coach Ekins slow-mo it the other day, and that was his issue. Like, when I'm looking, like, he is literally just set, ready to absorb this force, and he's perfect. Like, that's why I couldn't figure it out for the longest time, so I watched the slow-mo, and the bar literally just breaks through and just falls down, because his body's saying, nope, you ain't gonna, don't do that, because it's 308 pounds, but it's freaking going so damn fast. The inertial forces are so great. So to me, the biggest thing I hesitate to think about with cleans, I understand there's just as many positives as far as teaching them and time to teach them and doing them correctly, and the fact that I'm sitting here saying they're not the best thing for power output, like, there's a lot of red flags there. But to me, when you think of football doesn't just have a lower body force absorption process like a plyometric would really have. It is, a lot of times you are having to absorb that force from the shoulder to the hip to the knee to the ankle, joint by joint, all the way down through the low back, through the spine, through the core. And to me, what a clean teaches you from force absorption standpoint, it's just something to think about as you guys are continuing to develop your philosophies.
No question. I agree with that, but do you think that if you don't get him as, well, he is strong, but like as strong as possible, that will kind of counterbalance if you weren't catching a clean?
That's what I'm saying. So his deficit is eccentric strength. His concentric strength is so vast that he needs more. I mean, really, like I said, if you're privately training Brendan, you're doing eccentric squats, you're doing pause squat, you're teaching that kid how to, he's a massive force producer. He needs to learn how to absorb more force to keep him, because right now, like I said, he can produce more force and he can stop, that's an issue. That's saying, hey, there's a good chance this guy's gonna get injured. And to me, when I evaluate the NFL athletes, like, why are those dudes getting so injured so often? Because they're massive human beings. There is so much inertial force. Those guys are bigger, faster, and more powerful than they've ever been. And so think about the forces as far as what they're having to absorb through their bodies. I don't think they train enough to learn that, to learn how to absorb those forces. So I just think it's something you have to highly consider when programming for elite athletes, is not just, like I said, I mean, and I'm also just saying, like, what you guys think about while you're programming, versus what I'm thinking in my head. When I'm writing these concentric movements in there, I'm also thinking about, okay, where do we learn to absorb the force? Now for us, in our program, where do we learn? We learn in the cleans, we learn out on the field in our biomechanics, and that's where we really evaluate and take the crossover and say, okay, this guy can produce much more force than he can absorb, or he can't, and that's where you see a lot of your deficits. And you can say, hey, great, we're able to successfully absorb all the force we're teaching them to create in the weight room. It's crossing over to the field. We don't see poor mechanics. We're ready to play football. Or you see vice versa. You say, man, these guys can't decelerate. They can't stop. They can't stop the inertial forces that are carrying them forward, right? So then we got to manipulate the workout a little bit. So I think it is an absolute huge piece when you guys program and you think about these things. That's something I'd like to see on both of your guys' what am I missing? Or at least what am I thinking about? Man, I got to make sure I'm really thinking about not just teaching these guys how to produce force, but how to absorb it too.
Can I interject here with what you're kind of saying?
Go ahead.
And like what I like about, and obviously like when I read the playbook, I mean, that's one of the books that had a huge impact on, because, you know, I'm very simple, I love simplicity, I love teaching. And that book to me, when I worked with my high school guys, I took this and just kind of ran with it.
Yeah.
Just tweaked it and made it what I wanted to make it. One thing that I found with the force absorption was, you know, of a small box holding dumbbells and having low, even more external weight pulling you down. And I mean, it was freaking awesome. And we even got to it with a light, like 10-pound dumbbells, but dropping off into a single leg. So that would be something I would do weeks 1 and 2, kind of how we get into our prep and progress it there. And what I also really like about this is now, like on my day 3, I can come in here after I max effort bench and hit a VBT hang. Because we see, I mean, I think our guys could freaking handle that. You know what I mean? Especially with how well our cleans look now. And then there you go. Now we're moving. A, you're moving something really fast, and
Yeah.
B, like I agree 100%. And that's what I like about this. There is versatility in this 3-day split that you can get that force.
To piggyback, like that depth jump with the waist, that will also go into biomechanics on that Tuesday workload. And then on top of that, like these, like for example, like my movements, like these are not the specific movements that I'll
Right.
pick. Like a lot of them are just like shoulders. I can do anything to build up the shoulders, but you know, that sub max, like we were talking about with our guys with the front squats, they can't put a lot of a heavy load on their front squat. They're just not strong enough. They're very, very strong back squat wise. With that sub max, you can put a decent amount of load on the front squat and slow it up eccentrically, and that'll be the same force absorption and teaching them how to maintain that position that we're looking for in absorbing force through this movement right here. And all of this is going to progress. So this could progress from eccentrics to isometrics to going on into regular concentric movements. And same thing with the dumbbells, talking about loading up the shoulders. That could go from eccentrics to a diagonal press of an isometric barbell press into something concentric, going into more repetitions. But I think you can always absorb force with any movement if you just slow it down or just hold it as well.
Absolutely.
And then on top of that, you're still working your core, slowing things down. And you go to your Tuesday, your Thursday, your Friday movements, and then you have your high knees that you can work on the stuff that you feel that athletes are missing later on throughout the week.
Yeah, no, and like I said, I think it's something you have to think about very generally, because when you go through your program, I just want you to think about that, of what you can do.
That was Brendan Williams.
Nice.
Yeah. I'll tell you later.
But that's something that you just need to be thinking about is how, like I said, this is very general. It's just, I want, especially the people, in general, I think when you think about program, you think about, okay, how can I get stronger? How can I get faster? How can I produce more power? That's not necessarily the first thing you should be thinking about. How can you absorb force?
Yeah.
How can you get better with that? All right, Kish, what do you got?
So I kept it simple, same with my whole week of hypertrophy. Obviously, I would switch this up, make the main movement of the day, switch it, like, for Friday, I would make my main emphasis on hypertrophy bench. I would have to put in mobility and neck, superset mobility with whatever movement we have that day, do something similar to those movements. For neck, you talk about all the time, it's one of the most atrophy muscles in the body, it's fastest, and it also it helps with concussion prevention and then arms, also I put the team builder, more of like like we did, I think 2 summers ago, we did chin-up competitions. Everyone loved that, it's more competition, everyone started work, just like the arms, everyone wants to do arms, will look good. So maybe like do some competition where there's the core, like plank variations, plank holds. I put max effort upper and lower body just because I don't actually know what. I just focus on the first week of hypertrophy, then technique, work on technique, and whatever we see on that first day, and work on that throughout the week.
Yeah. And I mean, like I said, the biggest thing is you gotta understand is your programming, and what you have to think about is, as far as what am I missing, is you have to understand that if you don't train the hamstrings in a hypertrophic sense, you're not gonna hypertrophy. If you don't train the hamstrings in a rep effort standpoint, same thing, they're not gonna hypertrophy, they're not gonna have muscular endurance. If you don't train the hamstrings in an absolute strength standpoint, they're not gonna get a bunch stronger. So as you go through your program, that's what you have to think about, okay? Like, so this is my back squat, this one I'm back squatting to get muscle endurance or a hypertrophic response on this muscle group. So if you're getting a hypertrophic response, well then how are you gonna make it stronger? Okay, well Friday I have to make sure that I'm learning how to make this stronger. I'm programming how to make the quadricep group stronger. So as you kind of go through this, that's what you need to think about. So if you just have 3 max effort presses through the day or through the week, 1, you're gonna overtrain. That's way too many, there's not enough recovery in there. And 2, then you're just gonna be getting absolute strength. You're not gonna get any sort of rate coding or motor unit synchronization. You're not gonna get any sort of muscle endurance. You're gonna create athletes that are one and done. So I think, the biggest thing that I've found is having a well-balanced program is massive. You have to train power output, you have to train absolute strength, you have to train muscular endurance, you have to train strength speed, you have to train speed strength, you have to work on all continuums of the force velocity curve. And your programming needs to look at that. So as you write out a week of programming, you need to say to yourself, man, I don't work any muscle endurance in the posterior chain. I have max effort RDLs and I have max effort hip lifts. Where am I getting my muscular endurance work there? Where am I getting my hypertrophic work there? And I think that's the best thing you can think about as you plan out your week. Does that make sense? Yep. Right.
I can't believe I forgot about neck. So yeah, definitely gotta hit the neck, especially in this sport, with concussions and blows to the head and all that. Hip mobility was a big one that I was kind of looking, to put in there when we did our heavy squat days or our squat days, just to work in there to get the guys good. Obviously, we're gonna have our heavy, clean, heavy squat days. Typically, like to do the heavy clean on second day, probably Wednesday, if it's 3-day split, with the heavy squat on Friday to just then have that full weekend to have the body recover or whatever. And obviously, you got the sprint, agility, plyos type deal, biomechanics,
Power output.
Power output.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I would say similar to what I just told Kish, I know you don't have much programming experience, which is fine. But as you start to think about these things, it's the same concept. Create a well-balanced program. There's nothing wrong with what you're kind of, you don't know it, but that's kind of the tier system in the fact that you're tiering out what's most important to you first. But bench can't be the most important thing every day.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So as you pan out the rest of your week, same thing I told Kish, you have to find your balance. So if bench is your max effort movement, and that's what you want to emphasize on Monday, what do you want to emphasize on Wednesday? What do you want to emphasize on Friday? And when you look at that whole program from a push to pull ratio, from a max effort upper to max effort lower, anterior chain to posterior chain, are you balanced? do you have hypertrophic work? Do you have absolute strength work? Is your program balanced in nature? Are you too heavy towards just getting your guys super strong, but you don't have enough power output work? Now we know absolute strength is king. You gotta have strength before you can really have significant power. We know that, but there's got to be a point in time where you have good balance in your program, especially with elite athletes.
Yes,
Make sense?
yes.
All right, T.
Need more rotation movement. I mean, core-wise, a lot of these movements too, you kind of have to embrace your core, but like I said, you do need your core movements. Neck, I was gonna have more shrugs like later on in the second and third days. So I mean, that still involves more of your neck. I mean, more of the lateral, the flexion extensions, cuff, and like upper body lateral movement. And that kind of goes hand in hand just to go with shoulder curl and mobility. And a lot would go into the warm up, but I think using some spare time, especially with like trap bar, deadlift, and chin up, you could get some type of mobility in there, so you're not having wasted time. Because I mean, when like with our setup, transitioning from snatch to having to go outside for like a horizontal med ball, you really wouldn't have time to get in like a mobility or an activation. So that's kind of what my thoughts were.
Okay. And like I said, I mean, it's gonna be very similar. I think power output, you have a little bit of horizontal work on there, but to me, one of those days, there's gotta be power output emphasis. Wherever that falls in, you gotta think about that. And I would say a minimum of 2 days out of your 5, some form of facet, they gotta be power output emphasized, massively emphasized. And then as you go through that, you just continue to, like I said, look at your balance, push to pull, anterior, posterior, max effort, rep effort, dynamic effort, so on and so forth. Well,
So the way I looked at it is just like the things I'm missing that I need to incorporate for the rest of the week. Horizontal press, max effort squat, max effort vertical press. These kind of be interchanged, but I would definitely want to try to get this in there. I want to do a max effort pull from the ground, work that posterior chain. Since this is sub-max here, core rotation, anti-rotation.
one day, all 9 weeks, some people do a little phase of it, and I said they both work. You can't tell me they don't work, because like I said, you look at Westside Barbell, Louis Simmons Gym, they do some form of hypertrophy every week. So, you guys good?
I don't know if you turned that off or if it turned off because it was flat.
I didn't think about it.
So I was just turning it back on. I didn't know if
Did it film? Was it filming?
I just caught it. I just looked over this play.
It was.
Did anybody press
It got the whole,
record?
it got most of it. It got the main, so they didn't really get the question, like this part of
It
it.
turned off our mic, so I'm sorry.
Yeah.
But so I mean, dude, it depends on what you want to do. I can't tell you one way works better. I can tell you what way I like to do. I like to have some form of a hypertrophy. I don't like the idea of not hitting 8s, 10s, or 12s for 6 straight weeks. You know what I'm saying? So I want to touch it in some form of fashion. Now, maybe that's your accessory movement, which is how I like to do it. So if we're going to do an incline bench, that's, we might do a board bench and a reverse band bench or something, and then on Monday, Friday, and Wednesday might be your accessory incline single arm hypertrophy dumbbell bench. So it just depends on how you want to milk it. I don't like I said, I don't really like the concept of completely backing off of one thing for an extended period of time. I like to be conjugating that sense of the word.
I have one question. So, like, as this example, you are gonna board bench on Monday and reverse band bench on Friday. How long would you run those 2 movements before you cycle?
Yeah, so the whole way, and I've been back, when I first started, I was like Joe DeFranco, let's wave it. I like new movements all the time, the Louis Simmons stuff. And what I noticed is, yeah, man, like you're getting stronger and the variation is great, but it doesn't give the kids enough time to know it. So it's great that, but by the time Kish his by the time his regular bench or his board bench would have gone up 25 pounds, I already switched it to band bench. So he didn't know that it went up 20 pounds. And more importantly than getting strong is thinking that you're getting strong. So to me, I used to flip movements every 2 weeks. So we'd go box bent, we'd go box squat to band squat to front squat to back squat, and that might be a summer progression. So 4 different squat variations in an 8-week summer program. Now I won't do more than 2. So I'll wave them in 4-week cycles, and that's how I program. I program on a 4-week cycle. Ideally, I'd like to go 3 weeks on, 1 week off, or 4 weeks on, 1 week off. And with our new programming, it's really 3 weeks of optimal training. You give them a performance week. I'm not gonna call it a peak week, I'm gonna call it a performance week, because it's when I'm gonna I'll let them go to failure, I'll let them push and weight, and then a deload week. I don't like to go 5 like we're going right now, but we have to do it because of macros. So, it just kinda depends. Anything else?
I also think when it comes to variation, like changing stuff up, a lot of people don't take into consideration, the eccentric and isometric portion of a movement as well.
And for that matter, I'll vary accessory movements more often. Now, we stopped doing that as much, even just for the same thing that we were like, damn man, like, we're finally starting to get this movement down. I mean, I love reverse lunges, I love them. But like, I'd like to run a 2-week Bulgarian split squat cycle and then run a 2-week reverse lunge cycle. And we used to do it like that. But what have you guys noticed? Like we were constantly, like by the time we felt like, all right, hey Kish, you finally learned the movement, bam, let's go teach them reverse lunges. And then we have to reteach that one. So, and maybe it wouldn't be like that at Alabama. I know it wasn't. Like at LSU, those kids picked up the movement like that. And so you could probably do that. But here, I would say it takes 4 weeks for our guys to pick up a movement. For them to really, I'd say 2 weeks to master it, and then 2 weeks to actually get. Like I said, think about the first week of Bulgarian split squats. Your guys are like 35s, 40s, dumbbells, tops, right? And it's because they technically can't do it, not because they're not strong enough. And then now this is week 5, you have guys 100s, 105s, 110-pound dumbbells in their hands. So, and then that's where maybe why I interrupted you, Green, is maybe instead of varying the movement, you vary the tempo of the movement. And you go into, okay, we're gonna eccentric Bulgarian split squat now. New stimulus, right? Bice 10 push-ups, let's go.
Yes.
Knock
Knock it out, bro.
Does that make sense? Anything else, guys?
Have you ever seen a program like kind of back off after, like when we used to do the 2 hypertrophy, like my first summer here we did 2 weeks of hypertrophy. This might be a stupid thought, but just thinking about it, would it be possible to kind of back off them on that 3rd week and then go into your 5s? Have you seen that? Or?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. If there's one, I wish we had more time to do more deloading, and then it's also like optimability of like the schedule. Like, yeah, so that's great, but then we have a week off 2 weeks later. So what are you gonna do? You're gonna do 2 weeks of hypertrophy, week off, 1 week on, 1 week off. Your summer's already freaking almost over. So there's optimal, there's ideal. Like, if you're training an NFL athlete and you don't have to worry about anything else. You don't have to worry about their class schedules and their week-long break here and their week, like, you're ordering a different boat. So would I like to deload a team after hypertrophy? Yeah. Does it ever match up in our system? No. Like I said, I mean, it's a 2 weeks hypertrophy. If you deloaded them, then you got 1 more week, and then you got that 4th of July break that we have to give them off. So you gotta work around that too. Guys, you gonna fall asleep? Your eyes open?
No.
That would just be awesome.
All right. Well, like I said, I mean, I advise that you guys do this more often and just to play around with it. And I'd say the biggest thing that I see is, on a day-to-day basis, like I'll look at programs and just be like, man, what if we like maybe I would rather do this? And you just got to constantly evaluate. And like I said, when we wrote that 3-day split, you guys remember, or the 4-day split, the first thing I did is I made that little column on the left side and I said, okay, here's the things that we're missing. Do we need them? How can we get them in? Do we need to get them in? Are they necessary? And so you have to kind of think about that in the grand scheme of things.
Question about that. When we wrote that up, we had asked those questions and everything. one thing we took down, we had a huge, probably like a day-long debate about was shoulders.
Dude, I go over that. I still call strength coaches about it.
Yeah, but what are you thinking right now from what we've seen the past 5 weeks? Are you sold on how we haven't like done the upright rows recently?
We've done the upright rows. We haven't done the overhead
The
pressing.
overhead pressing.
Well, the overhead pressing has been incline. And well, we did 2 weeks of the we did 2 weeks of the military, then 2 weeks of the single arm. I mean, like I said, I don't know. Can you tell me that my shoulder stability is not getting more work from doing a single arm incline than an overhead? Like I don't know. And when the best thing is when I've called strength coaches around the country and said, all right, overhead pressing, is it a necessity? Like they've all said the same thing that I said that first day is, well, are you doing overhead carries? Yep. Are you doing mobility? Are you working incline, angle work? Are you doing pull-ups? Are you rowing a lot? Yep. Shit, I don't know. Do I need to overhead press? Shit, I don't know. I said, I guess ask me in the fall, I guess, shit, we'll see if it works.
I know, like, I was talking about when Sklenar, I know he talked about, like, he obviously has baseball, but he talked about like the 3 different types of acromions, the hook, the peak.
Yep.
And I forget the third one, but he does an overhead press because of that reason. He
Yeah, and
doesn't
some
want
guys, if I overhead press, it blows my shit up.
Yeah, which makes perfect sense.
If you overhead press, it blows your shit up. So, maybe we're onto something, boys. I don't know. Like I said, it's just crazy that you think about how long you've been in this industry and how many things you read, and that simple question that I asked took us all for a loop. Do we need overhead press? Why? Oh shit! Like I had me contemplating everything. Like, damn, why do we? Do we really need overhead press? I don't know. If you ask me, do we need a squat? I have a freaking really good answer. If you say, do we need to overhead press? Yeah. Why? Oof. Well, don't you row for that reason, to protect the shoulder girdle? Don't you do carries? Don't you do grip work? Don't you do pull-ups? Don't you incline press? Don't you do single arm variations for those same reasons? So when you think about it, like, damn, we really do a lot of shoulder work. Do we need to put an overhead press on top of it?
I was just wondering what your thought process was from the first time you asked that question.
Oh, it's still the same. Still like ask random coaches that sometimes. Just call someone and say, hey, do you need overhead press? Oh shit, that's a great question.
Do you get like half and half answers? Like,
I haven't gotten one good answer about why you need overhead press yet. As long as you're doing everything you're talking about.
right.
You're shrugging, you're upright rowing, you're doing some form of vertical and horizontal rows, you're doing overhead carries,
You got your
you're doing
incline
grip work, you're pressing at angles. When I throw those things at them, you're working range of motion and mobility.
And we have half our guys on our shoulder high knees.
Correct.
Anyway.
I've had coaches that argue that doing overhead presses causes more damage than it does good.
Yep, I've had the same.
And there's like the people, like even like the West Side guys that will take baseball players, freaking overhead press kind of hit.
Yep.
And we've been doing a great job with push-ups.
And the single line presses have been freaking great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You good? All right, great job, fellas. I think you guys did a good job.
That was awesome.